All right. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to the journey from data protection to cyber resilience. Now, today's wonderful webinar is sponsored by Rubrik and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm so happy that I get to be your moderator for this conversation first and foremost, because it means that we are all inside, right? It is a cold and miserable day for many of us. I keep seeing lots of burrs, lots of very chilly reporting in from all of you in our wonderful chat here. And I agree, it is way too cold to be outside. So let's get cozy, let's cuddle up, and let's, learn some cool things together. That's our plan here together today. So today we are going to talk about cyber resilience. And here's why I think that's a fun thing to talk about, other than coming in from the cold this lovely morning or afternoon, wherever you're at, is that I think cyber resilience is one of those terms that, it's been around. We all really like it. It's a good word, right? But what does it actually mean to be cyber resilient? What does that mean to you? How do we take those steps from data protection strategies to full, comprehensive, real world inspired resiliency planning? And that is what we're going to talk about today with the help of our expert presenters from Rubrik. So grab your hot coffee, your hot chocolate, your warmest slippers, your coziest blanket. Let's settle in. Let's talk about cyber resilience together. We're going to get our guest speakers on out here with me in just a moment, but I want to go through a few housekeeping points that are going to help you get the most out of your day with us here together today. And then we'll get our speakers on out here with us. So first off, I want to start out with the questions window. Now, if you were just saying to yourself, what is Jess talking about? What does she mean? There's cold highs and hellos coming in. Well, if you're looking for all of that wonderful news, what you're going to do is start in that little window that says handouts and questions, click over to the questions tab. And in that questions tab, you're going to see all the highs and hellos. You're going to see all the wonderful folks telling us about how they're doing and what their days are looking like. I do see there's a few of you joining from bright, sunshiny places. So please feel free to send some of that over to those of us who are covered in snow and ice. We would love some of your sunshine. But if you haven't already done so, say hi and hello. Let us know how your day is going. Tell us what you're up to. And make sure you're using that tab as we go through our day together, because you're going to want to get those questions into our wonderful presenters. They're going to try their best to get through as much as we can in our live Q&A today. And whatever we don't get through today, we will send to the Rubrik team and you will get responses back. So all the wonderful thoughts, ideas, concepts, questions that you have as we go through our session, get them in that questions tab. Now, if you go one tab over, I mentioned the handouts tab. That handouts tab is absolutely full of cool resources and takeaways. You're going to want to spend some time exploring. Click and open those links, but don't go too far down those research rabbit holes just yet, because we've got a lot of great content coming your way, but those are waiting for you after we wrap up. So make sure you're opening those links and holding on to those handouts for when we finish our webinar here together today. And as we come to a close, that's when we'll do that $250 Amazon gift card you're seeing right there on your screen. We do have that as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. You do need to be here in live attendance in order to qualify to win that prize, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you are wondering what those T's and C's are, no problem. You can head on over to the handouts tab we were just chatting about, click in, scroll down, and you will find them waiting for you there. All right, well, let's get our wonderful speakers on out here with us, because I think we've got a lot of conversation ahead of us. And hey, this is the best way to defrost a cold, chilly day, is with some awesome insight and information, right? So today we are chatting with an absolute superstars team. Of course, the one and only Rubrik crew is here with us, and they have a special guest with them from Iron Mountain Data Centers. I am so excited to get into this conversation. So Kanika is going to be a little bit of a host here from the Rubrik crew, kind of leading us through this conversation. And this is Kanika Topper, Senior Director of Product Management at Rubrik, who will be interviewing, discussing, chatting with Belinda Poupard, Director, General Information Technology, Iron Mountain Data Centers. Very excited to hear how this conversation unfolds. So Kanika and Belinda, I'm going to hand things over to you. Kanika, I know you're kind of kicking things off for us, so take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to today's webinar, The Journey from Data Protection to Cyber Resilience. Today, we are joined by Belinda Poupard. She is the Director of Global Information Technology at Iron Mountain Data Centers. Welcome, Belinda. I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Kanika. I'm really happy to be here. Yes, I'm Belinda Poupard. I'm the Global IT Infrastructure Director at IMDC and responsible for leading the data center IT infrastructure team at Iron Mountain. We support the behind the scenes systems, so like the building automation systems that control cooling, power, humidity, lighting, access, as well as CCTV. We have about 16, well, we have a little over 16 data centers around the world, and we protect approximately 2 petabytes of data, as well as a little over 700 virtual servers. A little bit about me. I've been in the IT gig for over 25 years. It's been quite a journey. Throughout my career, I've laid cabling in sand foundries, worked in help desks, as well as have led several leadership positions in infrastructure, operations, network, telecom, anything you can even think of, program management, anything that had to do with IT. I'm passionate about security, as well as the efficiency and problem solving around security through the multiple types of innovation.
Excellent. We are very, very grateful to talk to you. And we share that passion in cybersecurity. So let me give my quick introduction. I'm Kanika Thapar. I'm Senior Director of Product Management, responsible for all security products at Rubrik. I've also had a cybersecurity focused career, first in engineering, then in product management. Really believe in the power of good and trying to solve complex, hard security problems for our customers, which is why I'm at Rubrik, trying to build data security. And we're very, very grateful to chat with you today. So let's dive right into what we're going to talk about today. So today, there's going to be a lot of conversation in trying to understand how you can leverage modern data protection to build the right data security strategy for your companies. We'll also hear from IMDC on how they've seen reduction in IT overhead, on how they've built that out for their backup and recovery. And then, of course, how can we help you adopt better data protection and proactive data security strategies to build cyber resilience in your enterprise? The latest Rubrik Zero Labs report shared some very, very astonishing stats that are really making IT and security teams and professionals challenge how they've been thinking about cybersecurity strategies. For instance, 94% of IT and security leaders that we interviewed reported their organization experienced a significant cyber attack last year. And 38% of these organizations had at least one data breach from a cyber attack. And of course, that would be very, very challenging and damaging for the organization. So Belinda, what are some of the key factors for IMDC that are driving the need to think differently about data protection amidst this evolving threat landscape?
Oh, yes. Data center specifically is adding additional layers of security around our industrial controls and our operational technology. We've always protected them through isolation, access control, etc. The standard means of protection. However, now we are proactively threat hunting within those platforms and fine-tuning our protection for even those extremely rare cases. The bad actors are getting smarter, and we are trying to be one step ahead of them to protect our data access and availability, of course, and then also ensuring that our data integrity is still intact, as well as that authenticity.
Got it. Now, I guess moving to business continuity during a cyber attack. 60% of IT and security leaders are extremely or very concerned about the organization's ability to maintain business continuity during a cyber attack. And that's what we've been hearing a lot across the board from all leaders, because when you're under attack, there is so much else that's happening that business continuity takes a backseat. And it's very challenging when the IR team comes in, when legal and compliance comes in, where you might need to pull in government agencies like the FBI to help you during an attack. It's very hard to keep the business up and running and offer that continuity in a very safe way, knowing that the attackers might still be a part of your system and might still try to bring it down again. So I guess what keeps you and your customers up at night, as I've teed this, and what are the areas you focus on to keep business continuity in today's threat landscape?
The unintentional what ifs lately, the risk management around those what ifs as well. The CrowdStrike incident has us all questioning, how do we protect ourselves from the good guys? And Zomora, IMDC's senior cybersecurity manager, I have to give him a shout out because he's always talking about how internal actions are just as much a threat to a company as external threats. So, what do we do as a company? We invest in employee education and making sure our employees know about phishing, social engineering, all of those types of things. Everyone in IT has done something in their career that produced an unintended result and negatively impact someone or something. It is the nature of growing as an IT professional. As companies tighten their belts on budget spending and workforce reduction, what tools or resources do we need to have in our tool belt to identify and remediate incidents like the CrowdStrike incident quicker? Rubrik assisted us greatly in those early hours when the world was waiting for a response from CrowdStrike. We were able to just go right back to our Rubrik restores, bring our backups, restore some very critical servers to get our on-site teams visibility into our environment again, and we were up and running.
And that's a good segue into what a lot of our viewers are interested in, which is cyber resilience, right? What does it really mean? It's a term that's getting used like more and more. It's got a lot of power behind it. What does it mean to IMDC and specifically to you?
It's a great question because my opinion or perception of cyber resilience has evolved since Rubrik has come into our purview. When we were looking for a new backup and strategy solution a couple of years ago. When evaluating backup solutions, one of our principal engineers, Bart Hoheimer, saw an opportunity to address several needs for efficiency in evaluating Rubrik and how IMDC could benefit with not only our backup and recovery process, but add protection on multiple levels. And check boxes for our risk and compliance team, data enablement team, as well as our cybersecurity team. We brought in those stakeholders to the backup and recovery discussion and started planning a cyber resilient platform. It was at that time, I feel, that we had a cyber resilient mindset. We all worked together very well before Rubrik, came on, and we all aligned on our cyber strategy. However, we were dependent on multiple tools, individual tools, and we had to aggregate that data to make sure that it all aligned properly. That alignment wasn't always in sync, that data. Rubrik allowed us to all work in the same tool, see the same data, and how it's being used. So I guess I would say I believe cyber resilience is a holistic mindset to evaluate our decision process, to assess the ability to identify and isolate, respond, and recover any chance of business interruption due to a cyber threat. We at IMDC now know what our data is doing and how it's being handled at all times. Our backup and recovery strategy that we were initially looking for is no longer just copying files, but it's a living platform that not only provides value in case of a backup recovery need, but also provides, but also it helps with that potential risk in compliance and cybersecurity challenge that may come up and ransomware attempts.
That's a really, really good definition that you've laid out for cyber resilience and exactly how we're thinking at Rubrik. So at Rubrik, cyber resilience is simply defined as cyber recovery plus cyber posture. And it's very close to what you were saying, Belinda, on how we think about this as a holistic strategy on how do you secure your data? How do you build data protection? How do you recover while under an attack? Because we believe, as the world sees now, it's not a question of when, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when you will be attacked. So when you're under attack, do you have a strategy in place to have the right cyber recovery tool in place that can safely recover your data to a clean point in time, and with a very fast RTO, recovery time objective. That's very core to cyber recovery. And then the other arm of cyber resilience is cyber posture. Like you said, how do we enable organizations like IMDC to be able to bring down risk, to be able to figure out what can be the impact or the blast radius of an attack based on where sensitive data is, and to be able to clean up that data, archive unused data, or put the right access permissions on top. So building a holistic plan on cyber recovery and cyber posture is how Rubrik thinks about cyber resilience. So that was a really, really good insight from you. We really, really appreciate that. Now, another question that pops up a lot with our audience and with the market in general is, how is data protection different, or is it not, from data security? And what does data security have to do with cybersecurity and resilience? And you've touched a little bit upon this in your last question already, but I'd love to understand your point of view there.
Yeah, to me, data protection is that overall umbrella of what one does to protect data as a whole. And it's a sub-portion of cybersecurity or cyber resilience. Data protection can be vague at times. People throw that around quite easily. But in my mind, it includes data security and the policies and procedures that back up that data security, and the ability to show that I don't know if it's paper trail or that policy trail, procedure trail for risk and compliance, as well as our regional regulations such as PCI, GDPR, etc. Data security, on the other hand, is more focused on that access to that data and what one can do to that data when they're logged in and they're able to see it. So that's a portion of it. And then, of course, you always, again, need to have that documentation. So having the proper logging around that access and manipulation is vital as well.
I quite agree. And our take has also been very similar in the sense that data security is a subset of cybersecurity. And like you said, it's also a part of data protection. So cybersecurity, right? I've been lucky to build cybersecurity products before I came to Rubrik. Most of the companies, as we grew up in building cybersecurity products and handling threats, have been around prevention strategies, right? They've been, how do you secure endpoints? How do you secure users? But the end goal, as we see it, is everyone's trying to get to that data of yours, the PII, the sensitive data, the IP of your company and whatnot. So it's that data that everyone's trying to protect, that data that needs to be secure, which is where data protection kind of fits in. But like you said, Belinda, being able to figure out what will be the impact if you lost your sensitive data. How will you recover very quickly while under an attack or a natural disaster so that your business is up and running? You have business continuity while you figure out forensics on what were the attack vectors, what is the damage, and how do we come back from it? What were our compliance requirements that needed to be met? And shifting left even before an attack, how do you make sure that you can drive down risk? Risk reduction is key to that cyber posture strategy for us, for our customers, in figuring out where you need to remove unused permissions, where do you need to archive stale data that might carry sensitivity. So that's the holistic approach that Rubrik looks at as well. And that's why we also believe that data security is a bigger part, it is a big part of the strategy of cybersecurity that needs to be thought through. So bringing this all together, addressing all the threat landscape challenges that we see, all the attacks that we see, going from a data protection to a cyber resilience approach, what are some of the results IMDC has seen as a result of this shift that you talked about from a legacy data backup solution to building a more cyber resilience platform and strategy?
Yeah, IMDC is seeing so many benefits from utilizing Rubrik as our cyber resilience platform. First and foremost, we aligned IT operations, risk and compliance, as well as information security, our cybersecurity team, under a strategy for data protection. And we had cyber resilience in mind. So we that collaboration is golden for any success of any type of cyber resilient program. And on the workforce side, I mean, we've reduced IT management time by a little more than 75% just by doing two things. From what we utilized our old backup solution for, is we consolidated 16 sites into 4 regional sites. And we replaced over 100 different types of backup jobs that we had to have with our old solution. And we reduced that to 10 global SLAs. So that in itself, freed up about 75% of my time, or our team's time, I should say. The additional time savings that we received was approximately 15 hours of IT management with our database team, our data enablement team, with the implementation of RBAC. What that did is that it allowed our database administrators the ability to own and manage their own databases, the backup strategies, all of that, which they'd been asking us for years. And we had to, basically help them with that for so long. On top of, just the efficiency gains that we found, we were able to bring back into our inventory over 200 virtual CPUs, almost a petabyte of RAM, I'm going to say, and about 250 terabytes of storage. And basically, we can bring that back into our inventory and reinvest it when we have new builds and, build outs for our future data centers.
That's great. That's great. What is your view on the future of data security in this context?
And again, is a great question. The threat is only going to get larger, and the bad actors are going to get sneakier. Companies need to invest in their security platforms. And what that means is, yes, not just throwing money at security and saying, do something with it, do something valuable, move that needle. This includes, people and the skill building within those people, the continuous learning within those people, as well as implementing advanced tools such as Rubrik. The increased use of AI and machine learning is only going to get better and better as well. And I feel with what we see in our infrastructure now on our continuous ransomware monitoring and all of that, that's going to be key. People are going to have to, your tools are going to have to be able to differentiate between what's a trend, a good trend, and what's a bad trend. And that's going to get harder and harder. Also, privacy regulations. So I feel like I'm being, a poster child for Rubrik, but I can tell you that that sensitive data module that we utilize at IMDC is phenomenal for these types of things. The privacy regulations are evolving all over the world. And with us being a global company, we need to make sure that what we're saying and what we're telling our customers is true. And with Rubrik in our field or in our pocket, we know that and we can show the proof. So it's really vital to have up-to-date tools, have the ability to be a partner and not just a customer of a product. I think, and that's what we feel with Rubrik, is that we have the ability, is when Rubrik finds things, they're gonna bring them to us, and we can ensure that it's gonna, their tools are gonna be updated. They teach us about it. They will, give us little webinars, as well as when we feel that, hey, we would like to see this, Rubrik's always there, and they're ready to engage and move forward with advancements there as well. So, it's just, we got to be on top of our game. And as I said before, we need to be one step ahead of those bad actors. And I do believe in Rubrik and the ability of them assisting us to be in that position.
Great. We really appreciate the shout out. Allow me to share Rubrik's perspective, which is very closely aligned to how you are thinking, Belinda, as well. So Rubrik has kind of been growing up with backup, but it was always a platform that was built with cybersecurity first. So it's always believed in the zero trust model. And as we think about how data security evolves, everything starts from data. So data protection and being able to have immutable backups is the foundation that builds a good data security strategy, according to Rubrik. Next, just like you said, Belinda, it's extremely crucial to be able to offer cyber recovery, which is the ability to, while under attack, to safely recover data, be able to run threat hunts, figure out your blast radius on where is sensitive data and what is the impact that I have, and really be able to get back up your business and critical apps up and running while you're under attack. And that's something Rubrik has been building for a few years and providing advanced features to customers like IMDC. But what we're also doing now, as we think about the holistic data security strategy, is building cyber posture, which is shift left, which is making sure that even before an attack, how do you do risk reduction in a way that you've figured out not just sensitive data, but you're able to classify and categorize that data. You're able to figure out who has permissions on that data, and you're able to remedy the permission changes that are required to lower the blast radius and impact when you get attacked. So in short, like I was mentioning earlier, cyber resilience for us in its simplest sense is cyber recovery and cyber posture. So as enterprises are thinking of a cyber resilience strategy and the future of data security, they should be thinking holistically of before, during, and after an attack. What do you need to secure and safely recover your data while that attack is happening? And what do you do to reduce risk? That's how Rubrik thinks about cyber resilience, which tracks very closely to how IMDC is using Rubrik for its cyber resilience strategy today. So those are the questions I had for you, Belinda. I believe we have time for some more questions from the audience as well. Maybe let's start with one that I'm seeing here. What were some of the challenges you faced when migrating off of a legacy solution to a new one? And how did that impact day-to-day operations for you?
Actually, it was very seamless, and we didn't have any challenges. The only thing, the biggest challenge I think we had was the education of our application owners on what now is available to them. We were able to easily bring over site by site through the Rubrik bricks and work with those application owners and build out those SLA policies. So the only challenge I can think of was just teaching them and being able to get them to feel comfortable with owning their data, owning their backups, and doing whatever they wanted with their backups. They were used to kind of just always getting a hold of IT to do these things, and now it basically gave them the power to start doing that.
Here's another good question. What does a threat hunting program look like at your company?
That's a great question. Because data is like the #1 thing for Iron Mountain. We are very proactive in our threat hunting. Pen tests. We do internal pen tests. We do external pen tests. We do, and I'm going to take a step back. As I mentioned earlier, before our pen tests and actually looking for those threats, and anytime new things come out, it was all, our easily obtainable data, I guess. We're going to put the standard data or the standard servers that everyone always thinks of when it comes to some threat hunting, were looked at. And now we're really taking the approach of, okay, we're looking at our ICT. We're looking at those industrial control platforms. We're looking at things, our cooling. We're looking at trying to get in there and see what, what has always been in the back of people's minds, and we've always kept them isolated so nobody could touch them. But you know what? As I said, threat actors are getting smarter. So our threat hunting is constantly looking at trends, is those pen tests, is our we're constantly reviewing logs. We have alerts all over the place that come up when any type of trend looks abnormal. One of the things that I'm very excited about is, IMDC is utilizing the ability now we're implementing digital twins into our environment that is going to allow us to proactively, I guess, attack a digital twin of our data centers and make sure that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and see if there's anything that we haven't thought of that we can address. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing right now, just to keep in front of it.
That's great. All right, maybe we'll get to one more question. Somebody is asking, if I need to embark on a cyber resilience program at my organization, where should I start? And it's usually the starting bit that's hard, right?
Yeah. Do you have money? Yeah, this is probably a better one for you to answer, Jenica. But one of the things that I will suggest is to bring in those stakeholders. Bring in even the people that you didn't think would be interested in that cyber resiliency or that cybersecurity platform, and align on what your goals are and work through those initiatives on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everyone has good, bad, and ugly. And when you align as a stakeholder, as the stakeholders of your company, that you are responsible for that platform, the whole cyber resilience mindset sets in. And then you go to people like Rubric and they just blow your mind.
So yes, thanks, Belinda. Our enterprise customers also think very similarly, like you're saying that IMDC thinks about. So what we've seen with the enterprise customers is that this conversation starts at like the board or the C-level, and as they think about their cyber resilience strategy, either because they are proactively working towards risk reduction, or unfortunately they've been breached, they are bringing in all key stakeholders that will have an impact or that will drive towards a good cyber resilience strategy and risk reduction. And what we've seen there is involvement of the CIO org, involvement of the CISO or the CISO org. We're also seeing involvement of the GRC, governance, risk, and compliance teams heavily. And of course, any other cloud security or database teams that are involved. So we're seeing these teams come together very holistically in building a cyber resilience strategy, understanding their RTO, RPOs, understanding what is their posture, what tools they'll use for the posture, and what tools they'll use to drive the risk down as part of their proactive strategy. So that tracks with what we've seen. I think we're out of time on questions. Thank you for sending really, really good questions. I want to wrap up here and take a minute again to thank you, Belinda, for sharing insights and spending time with us today in helping the audience understand data security as a holistic strategy, but also cyber resilience.
Thank you so much. I loved being here.
Well, and we loved having you both. Thank you both for such a wonderful conversation, for, as we said, and kind of really getting into explore what it means to be resilient, what we're talking about when we say cyber resiliency, and kind of getting beyond a little bit of that terminology and seeing how we can put that into action. I think that was really exciting for all of us today. I do want to sort of echo what we were just chatting about at the end there. If you did ask a question and we didn't get to it in the Q&A, and I can see that there's quite a few questions left behind. I apologize for that. We are going to leave things there, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get an answer. So we are going to send all of the questions that you asked with the rubric team today. So if they don't have time to get back to you as I'm wrapping up here on live chat, and if Kanika and Belinda did not get to your question during our Q&A, you will get a response back over email. So keep those questions coming in and rubric will follow up with you. While you guys are getting in your last questions, I also want to point out that another great way to get information right away is visiting that handouts tab. We talked about that at the top of the webinar. There's a couple of great links in there. You can explore the Rubric Zero Labs, learn about the state of data security, how to measure your data's risk. There's lots more there for you. There's actually a customer page at Iron Mountain Data Centers. It's basically a whole interactive case study. There's including a little demo video that's about 2 minutes long and a quick and easy watch. So I recommend spending some time exploring that, especially as a wonderful follow-up to all the information that we just heard from Belinda. And then, of course, you can register for the demo series on Rubric Cyber Resilience. Now, this is a really cool opportunity to dig in even further, to keep learning not just about cyber resilience, but how you can actually action that through Rubric. So make sure you've got that demo series, open that up, sign up. You know, demos really are just the best way to see something in action, right? Get to see that in real time, get to see that actually unfolding in front of you. So make sure you sign up for that demo series. I think that's a pretty cool way to learn a little bit more. All right, well, one last exciting bit of information here for you is the name of our prize winner. So before we wrap up, I am going to give away a $250 Amazon gift card to someone who is here live and present at the webinar. And that special lucky someone today is Nicole Morrison from Wisconsin. Nicole Morrison from Wisconsin, congratulations to you, Nicole. I assume you are going to be using your $250 on very warm boots or very warm mittens. That is much needed across everyone and especially in Wisconsin today. So please do spend that on warm layers. Well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank Rubric for making this webinar possible, especially to our incredible speakers here with us today, Kanika for hosting that conversation, Belinda for walking us through some really interesting real-world insights and action steps. You've both given us a lot to think about today. And of course, my biggest high fives, my biggest thank yous go to all of you here with us for making this webinar possible, for being a part of our conversation. You've come in from the cold and you've joined in a sizzling hot conversation. How's that for a good weather analogy today? I know, honestly, it's been, we're kind of all coming back in from the break. I know that we just had Blue Monday kind of pass by and we're right in the lower parts of winter. You know, this is the time when things can feel a little stressful. All the things that we put off from the end of last year are now catching up to us. And there's a lot on our plates. And it really, truly means a lot that all of you take time out of your days, take a step back from being really in the thick of it and knocking things off the to-do list and come to talk, come to learn, come to share information and experiences together. And that is what is the core of these webinars. So thank you very much for your time and energy today. I hope that I get to see all of you at a webinar again soon. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful, warm, cozy rest of your day. Thanks all.